don't forget to subscribe. Sword Art Online. Sword Art Online may not have been the origin of the theme, but it's certainly what skyrocketed the popularity of the stuck-in-a-game trope. Whether the game becomes reality, like in the case of the New Gate, or you get trapped in a virtual space like in the case of Digimon or Sword Art Online, the stuck-in-a-game trope is full of all sorts of interesting stories. 11 people wake up, standing in the middle of a ruined settlement surrounded by high walls. All of them are from different walks of life and different ends of the world. Despite the circumstances, everyone is still from a place called Townia. Suddenly, a tiny fairy beams into existence. She introduces herself as Isel and is the fairy in charge of managing this place. The residents start to ask questions, however Isel refuses to answer them. The mercenary, frustrated, pulls out his sword and coats it in aura. In an instant, his head goes flying. A couple of messages pop up as Isel sets the residents straight. Suddenly, the residents are summoned as the master makes his move and forms a party to send out. However, right before they enter, Islat Han steps up and speaks about climbing some tower and persuades her for weapons. Isel, convinced, sends a tip to the master. The residents ask Han what he knows and how he knows it, and he tells them to prepare for an upcoming battle. One of the residents, Gemma, can't help but ask questions as they pick equipment. Han just says to kill all of the enemies and the rest will take care of itself. A message pops up. Han gets nervous but prepares. The members of the first party all die and the party loses. The remaining residents are selected and dragged into the portal. On the other side is a small temple-like structure with ethereal walls blocking the archways. Han warns everyone, and a light flashes bright white. Around them suddenly is an open field, accompanied by the setting sun. As one of the residents asks Han where they are, he simply says, the battlefield. He warns people that they will die if they don't fight, but some of them still run. Only Gemma stays behind. The runaways try to get away, but they eventually hit an invisible barrier. Gemma and Han get ready as they have no choice but to ignore the others and focus on the fight ahead. As the goblins bear down on him, he can't help but think he may be Han in this game, but his real name is Han Sojin, and he is trapped in the body of a character in a game all about luck. Pick Me Up, a new mobile gacha game or an RNG game made by Mobius. The goal of the game is to get to the 100th floor of the tower. You create materials to fortify and support your heroes, and strategy and tactics to clear the floor itself. However, all of your heroes are randomly pulled. Heroes are rated from 1 star all the way to 7 stars. Unlike other games, if your hero dies, there is no way to revive them. Han, unfortunately, has terrible luck and has never gotten a 7-star character. One day, while playing with his team, a weird warning message pops up. His party feels fear as a strange level 999 entity shows up, and all of them are killed in an instant. As he looks at the enemy on his screen, the enemy turns and looks back.
Found you.
Messages flood his vision, and he is thrust into the tutorial. The backstory of the character Han Islat. Goblins suddenly appear in front of him, and he has no choice but to accept his reality. Soon enough, Han makes his first kill. As he clears the stage, the town is no longer on fire, and another hero is summoned. However, the difference was overwhelming, but Han didn't mind. However, the last stage of the tutorial is the problem. Synthesis, the process of using one character as a sacrifice to level up the other. Han is only 1 star, so he's almost guaranteed to be sacrificed. Even after telling Isel that this is a mistake and he was from Earth, he is still forced in. Han has no choice but to accept his fate. However, by some stroke of luck, Han isn't sacrificed, but the 4-star knight is instead. However, even now, Han must fight to survive. This manga has such amazing art and such a unique setting and concept. The art is super clean. It occasionally switches to a more wild and scratchy style, but never loses the cleanliness of the original art style. The hook is amazing and the plot is so engaging. The pacing of this story is probably one of my favorite parts. It never loses that desperate fight for survival type of feel. It really feels like anyone could die at any moment, and it's really hard to tell who will continue on to the next stage. Even when they get stronger and have more equipment, the battles are always bloody, brutal, and desperate. I love the hook and the art. The premise is really fun, and the characters are so dynamic, so I would give this a solid 9 out of 10 skulls.
Empire Defense.
A tower defense game lauded for its impossible difficulty. After 10 long years, our main character finally clears and beats the game. Our main character is a streamer who streams really hard games. As he looks at the battlefield on his screen, he can't help but feel a little sad, because only the main character survived. He looks at the back of his tiny pixel character and cannot help but feel sympathy as the one who saved the day stood alone atop a mountain of bodies. As he's talking with chat, a message pops up on his monitor. Director A, the creator of the game, thanks him for clearing it and requests his help. Our protagonist is skeptical and suddenly gets dizzy. As he faints, the last thing he sees is his monitor. He wakes up in that same instant to the sound of explosions and the sight of debris. As destruction rages around him, he gets up and suddenly a cannon is wheeled and fired in front of him. He looks around and sees soldiers armed with spears and in armor. Our protagonist wakes in the middle of a war of some kind. One of the soldiers calls him, "Your Highness!" and the soldiers are all protecting him. However, another explosion sends him careening backwards. He lands with a heavy impact and looks around to see green flames burning all around him. More soldiers join the fray, but are ripped apart by a large, disgusting spider. The soldiers try to fight back, but are torn to shreds. The spider slowly crawls over, and right as it's about to kill the prince, the main character of the defense game shows up and tears it to pieces. Lucas is the prince's bodyguard and a knight, and he helps the feeble prince to his feet. As our main character recognizes Lucas, he takes in his surroundings in a new light and realizes he must be in the world of
Empire Defense.
Similar to the previous mango, this mango is just as fast-paced. It's a constant fight for survival and a war of attrition where losses are inevitable. What I can appreciate about stories like these is that despite the overwhelming advantage that the main character has knowing all the nooks and crannies in the game, it never makes them feel overpowered or just like an untouchable god. Rather, it feels like without that information, or an item he got here, or a character there, then the situation would have been otherwise impossible to overcome. The world itself is slowly and nicely fleshed out, allowing room for exploration and discovery, if they survive. I give this mango 8 out of 10 skulls. We start with a dream of a place called Earth, and someone in front of a computer screen playing an RPG. The spirit of our protagonist watches. The character in the game dies again, and the player gets a phone call from his friend. They chat about the game and how this particular character is a magnet for trouble that most certainly leads to death. Despite the difficulty of this game, the player presses on because he wants to save the side character. The spirit is shocked, as that's his name. Evan slowly sneaks up and looks at the monitor screen and is shocked to see himself there. As he realizes they are discussing the story, Evan wakes up. He finds that both their memories have combined, as he realizes that those were his past life's memories. With his new memories, he realizes that death is around literally every corner, and there's one final unavoidable event that will surely kill him. Despite all of this, he realizes that he doesn't have any time to waste, and must take steps to ensure his survival. I personally wasn't super hooked by the premise, but it was enough to keep my interest. The art is also very clean, but feels a little simple at times, lacking a sort of oomph that would make the series more impactful in my opinion. It's on the lighthearted end of stories, but it never feels particularly funny. I also think that the characters are fairly standard. It's not like they are one-dimensional or anything, but they just feel a bit lukewarm. In fact, this entire mango just feels a bit lukewarm. Given the lukewarmity of this mango, I'm gonna give it a lukewarm in the middle rating, neither hot nor cold. A good 5 out of 10 skulls. This mango starts off in a hunter setting. This is Jin Taekyung, an F-rank hunter, and he just got a full-body VR console. His friend, Sung Jin-ho, appraises it and says it's trash. After a hard day and being fired, Taekyung decides to go to a bar with his friends. He unfortunately ends up carrying his friend back and cleaning up after his mess. He sits down and the system beside him catches his eye. He looks at the manual and reads a few absurd things, one of which is if you die in the game, then you die for real. Tired from his day, Taekyung decides to sleep right there on the floor. Unfortunately, his roommate is a little loud. Because of this, he decides to sleep in the console, hoping it would block out the sound and smell. However, as he falls asleep, the console powers up and he enters the game. He wakes up nude and sleeping next to someone he's never seen before, and on a big and luxurious bed. Suddenly, a window pops up. Startled, Taekyung stumbles back and off the bed. It seems this game is a Muram world, but Taekyung still has no idea what's going on. Soon enough, a message pops up saying the tutorial quest has begun. A board pops up indicating several tasks that need to be completed for this tutorial quest. Seeing this, he starts to question the woman in front of him. He manages to gain quite a bit of information out of her and figures out his location and that he is the youngest son of the Jin family. The family was known for many good deeds and thus were well respected and liked. However, only the youngest was a troublemaker. It takes him a minute, but he realizes that that's him. With that, one of the objectives, gather information, is complete. Taekyung goes to log out. However, he is unable to. He tries to log out, but he is greeted by messages saying that it's impossible again and again. He suddenly remembers the instruction manual and one of the warnings that said, you cannot log out. Taekyung is trapped. And with that, the objective, familiarize surroundings, is done, and the tutorial quest is completed. This manga is hilarious and has such a unique and expressive art style. It's very easily able to shift from flashy fights and aggressive auras to comedic softness in a beat. The humor is easy and fun to keep up with. There isn't really a grand mystery, and what really propels the plot forward, for me at least, is the growth of the main character and his general struggle to survive in a world full of martial masters. I really enjoy and actively keep up with this manga, so I would give it a solid 8 out of 10 skulls. Our protagonist wakes up trapped. He quickly finds that he isn't able to move and is in some sort of coffin. He tries to recollect yesterday's events. He was working during the day and then went straight home afterwards. After he got home, he pretty much played all night and then he went to bed. That ended up being kinda useless as he still has no idea where he is or how he got here. Eventually, he starts hearing voices on the outside and eavesdrops on them. He hears them say a familiar phrase and he realizes it was from the game he was playing last night. He is confused even more as he thinks this is some sort of elaborate prank. As the crate is opened and he is dragged out, he is revealed to be Prince Gilo-san. His only role in the game is to be killed, and his head is to be sent to his father, the king. His captors hold a blade to his face and raise it in order to execute him. However, as he is about to be executed, time freezes and a window appears in the air. The title of the game he was playing, and its starting screen. The art in this manga is super unique. Just because of the cute and almost cartoonish style, I would definitely recommend this. The plot is interesting as well, of course. It's not a masterpiece or anything, but the charisma of the characters, in combination with the good pacing and unique art, makes this an excellent read. The comedy is pretty funny, and the mystery of the world only grows as the main character of the original game appears before him. I would absolutely recommend this as a read, both for the art and the fun storytelling. I like this manga and this trope, so I enjoy this story, but I can see how some people might not feel the same, so I would give this 7 out of 10 skulls. That's all for today. Happy reading!